Welcome, everybody, to this very special Captain's Quadrant episode, our adults-only edition. Now, the first thing you notice is, why am I talking? Why isn't Joe? Well, when we come up with this idea, Joe quickly went, I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. So he's letting me host, guys.
Yeah.
So what is this episode about tonight? Well, we're going to talk about the one obvious thing in Star Trek that we don't always talk about, and that is sex and sexuality in Star Trek. And what we're going to be doing tonight is going through the decades and discussing some of the naughty things, some of the changes in sexuality, so how diversification and representation has evolved over the time. But mostly we're going to giggle like little school children and have a bit of fun like this. So occasionally we may, I'm just going to put myself out there. If I happen to say something wrong, highly offensive, if I misgender or anything, I apologize. We're an inclusive channel here, and we were just talking about our perspectives and not necessarily trying to represent or diminish anyone else's experience. So in saying that, guys, welcome aboard. Captain Dove, how are you tonight?
I'm well. I'm excited. I kept my pants on, just so we're clear. I made my promise, thing. And I've done that.
A lot of people are happy hearing that.
I know. Watch our numbers go up. Oh, he's got his pants on tonight. All right. Let's tune in.
Fantastic. And also, let's make a little announcement here while we're here as we welcome our next new permanent member of Captain's Quadrant. We're going to officially bring and celebrate the fact that Nita's here. Captain Nita.
Yay.
Welcome aboard. You've just signed a $1 million contract. Thank you.
Yeah. But you're paying us the $1 million.
Oh, Lord.
Just wanted you to know that.
No, that's 1 million years. That's not money. That's years.
Oh, years.
He's going to do stuff for it. Yeah.
This sounds like a really bad cult right now.
Join us.
And of course, we have Admiral Annie joining us again, the person who saves lives in her real life and then has to babysit us in her spare time. Thank you for coming on. All right, are we ready to tackle? Sorry, Annie, I interrupt you there.
No,
we're good.
no.
Well, are we ready, guys? Are we ready to get into and start talking about the naughty things
we
are
about Star Trek?
Yep.
Let's talk
All
about
right, we're going to get
sex,
risque.
baby.
Yeah, we're going to get risque, people. We may even get a little. Okay, it's not that type of show. But we're
Old
gonna
classic.
get into those areas.
The old classic. Wow.
All right, guys. Let's get serious. Let's talk about sex in the 60s.
Son, don't you ever look at the night sky? The lights up there.
Wow, the 60s, the beginning of Star Trek.
Oh my.
Oh my.
And the sexual revolution.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is the time of
yeah.
a lot of change in America.
Oh my.
And certainly Star Trek was representing that in a big, bad way.
Mhm.
And if you think about it, in its inception, Gene Roddenberry had been very outwardly and said many times in many different interviews and articles that he believed sex was a big part of the future. And sexuality and equal sexual liberation between the sexes in that period was very important to him. So there's a strong intention to be a bit broader in those terms. So I wanted to ask you guys, as first off, as a kid, you probably didn't even notice the sexiness, but now that you've probably seen the episodes as much as we all have, what is your impression about that period when it comes to being sexually liberated? I'll go with you, Annie, first.
I think a big part of that, honestly, is the fact that in seemingly almost every episode, Kirk is getting with someone who's an alien.
Mhm.
So I think that kind of opened the door. And I like how, oh goodness, the name of the movie escapes me, when they're on Rura Penthe and they
Star
meet
Trek 6, The Undiscovered
Yes,
Country.
Undiscovered Country, that's right. And they meet with Marta, the alien, and she says, not everyone keeps their genitals in the same place. When
I love that.
That's
I
excellent,
love
yeah.
that, right? So the idea that not everyone has to look a certain way, not everyone has to be a certain way. I think that Star Trek really opened the door for that, and I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sexuality didn't just, as you can see there, wasn't just about young ladies wearing low cut costumes. They did a really great job in the making sure that men also were objectified as much as the women. And I think sometimes we miss that show in particular. Yeah, you would have clothes on the ladies that were specifically designed to look like they would almost just fall off.
Yeah.
But the guys, I mean, yeah, they were shirtless quite a lot. I mean, Kirk was, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Nita? You know, when you look back at that series now and you think about, wow, that was way raunchier than I first thought it was. What is your impression now? Is it still okay today? Does that show more things? Yeah.
Absolutely, it is okay today. I'm a TOS original fan. Okay, and the first time I saw Star Trek, I was 5 years old. My brother turns on the TV. He puts on and Uhura is on there. Okay, and all I hear my father and my brother, I remember them saying how beautiful she was, and that the idea of them
gorgeous.
constantly talking about her beauty kind of put in my head that's what beauty looks like. And got to understand that during that time, was the it was like the mid 70s. It was a time where beauty was defined very differently than what she looked like. Then we moved to Puerto Rico and we meet cousins who look like her. Exactly like her complexion, her hair. And I said, wow, they're gorgeous too. They're just like Uhura. In my head, I'm like, they're just like Uhura. And that influenced me to see a black and brown women as beautiful. Black and brown men as beautiful, because that was important during a time where you had to look a certain way in order to be beautiful, to be sexy. And she redefined that for me without even realizing. So I never took those outfits to be as sexist because, like you said, a lot of the times the men were shirtless as well, and it really was about freedom. I think that it wasn't about let's
liberation,
objectify them, but let's be free and accept that we are humans. These are our bodies, and it's okay to be sexual with them. It's fine with that, And I think that it opened those doors because that original series started during the sexual revolution. That influence was there,
Absolutely, it was.
For all we know, Gene Roddenberry marched and was a hippie at one time. I don't know.
The
He
rumor
was always
is
a very strong defender of equal rights.
He sure was.
Certainly getting fair representation from all different sections of the community. So with all his faults in there, you can spend hours on the internet finding about all his faults.
Yeah.
Some of his good things, this is a great example. And especially Uhura, when you were talking about Uhura, you think about the miniskirts, and there's a lot of, it was only recently I was reading articles of people going, look at how they were objectifying Uhura back then and da-da-da. But if you actually read Nichelle Nichols' book, she makes in there that she never sexualized that in her mind. It never was about, they're getting, no, she goes, well, they're really comfortable. And it was the fashion of the time. So.
And it was about being free. I can wear this and you don't need to sexualize me just because I'm wearing this. And I think that that's something that a lot of women are still trying to capture of I can wear what I want and that doesn't give you rights. I can still say no to you, and that's okay.
Exactly.
And I think that's the message that we got. It was like, we saw Kirk in that image, Kirk and Spock together, both shirtless, very different men, very different looks, but very sexy in their own way.
Yeah, they are, absolutely. And I go back to this picture. Look at that outfit. I mean, when you're talking about sexuality and maybe exposing the general public, I mean, that's got a bit of touch of bondage about it, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, but it's fantastic. But Joe, like, let's face it, you're probably going to be like me when it came to going back and watching Star Trek, and then you see that there are so many beautiful women in the show. It's hard not to watch it and go, now, there's a lot of beauty in that show.
Right.
What was your experience as an adult going back and watching the original series?
It was an eye opener because initially I just surmised that, oh yeah, I remember they used to wear the short mini skirts. You had the blonde, you had Michelle Nichols, who was just mind blown.
Look at all this cast of
wow.
women,
Right, and
their
then he
outfits.
started to get in these tinfoil brassieres, and you're like,
Mm.
maybe there is cause for tinfoil as an outfit. I don't know.
Exactly.
And that's the outfit you're referring to, Joe. I
Right,
believe. Yeah.
Right. And I remember like being younger and
That's some
going,
strong foil.
yeah. and I
That's
was like,
right.
what happens if they start doing jumping jacks? Maybe
Yeah.
they
won't.
won't.
As
See,
a woman, I can tell
and
you
when
they are moving very slowly.
That's right.
See, if you want to get to the inside of a man's mind, that's exactly what Joe just said. Is exactly how
Yeah.
simple Neanderthal thing. What would happen if she jumped up and down?
Yeah.
We're not proud. I'm just being honest.
No.
And as a
Exactly.
woman, I'm going, what kind of bra is she wearing?
Right?
Yeah.
Where did they get that?
How is she not falling out of that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a
The
very
Well,
strong
mindsets are
take.
different. We're
Yeah.
looking at the same thing, but they're different.
Yeah.
You know the other groovy thing I reckon about that, and I want to use the groovy because it's the time to use the word
That's
groovy.
right.
Is the fact that we started to find out about interspecies sex.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Really, I mean, it's because Kirk was not a bigot in any way on a galactic scale.
No.
He was
and,
an international lover.
Oh,
right.
like
Interplanetary.
don't think he did, but
Interplanetary
there's an
lover.
example of
If she's
you know.
green, then she's for me.
He did not discriminate.
No, not at all.
What a legacy this show has, because in that period, like I said, they're dealing with some very misogynistic ideals in that show and things that could be problematic in this day and age, but it was handled with such class that we still look back at it and we will go, look, that was the period of the time. We wouldn't do that today. Like you wouldn't have the Harry Mudd episode where he's basically trafficking women.
Right.
Right.
We wouldn't do that today.
No.
Like,
I think
definitely.
because of the current situation with sex
Right.
trafficking, it
Yep.
becomes very sensitive issue.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And you never know who's watching.
That's
Is
right.
affected directly. So,
Yeah.
I think that those ideas change according to what's happening with society. But that's Star Trek
Absolutely.
for you. Star
Yeah.
Trek is about that.
Yes. And it evolves throughout the decades. And
Yes.
is there anything else, something from the 60s that for you guys, before we get Joe to throw to the comments, that really sticks out in your mind as a positive or a negative?
A positive for me, and I don't mean to take control here,
No,
but
do this.
would be because I'm biracial is the first interracial kiss between
Yes.
Kirk and Uhura, and that
Yeah.
was a big moment at that time. Seeing my parents kiss was like, oh yeah, it's like Kirk and Uhura, whatever.
But when you see your parents, it's just like, oh, not in front of me, guys.
Yeah, exactly,
Oh.
exactly. So it was that I thought was probably one of the big standouts because they pushed the envelope in a way that really wasn't too crazy. It's just a kiss.
No.
But back then it was like, oh my God. And I'm sure some of these,
The-
Bible pumpers were like, oh no.
And the interracial children, Spock
Yeah.
being half human.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, half human and half Vulcan. How different are Vulcans to humans? Like we're
Right.
full of emotions and we want to just spew it out there. And Vulcans are in
absolutely.
control. They suppress, and
Yeah.
everything they do has a reason and a rhyme, and it's
Even
logic.
their mating rituals.
Even their
Yeah.
mating
And far.
rituals.
Yeah.
I'm far. I mean, but we see that. And
Yeah.
they make it okay. They make it that
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with this child growing up and being successful because he or she is interracial. Like
Yeah.
they will be
Yeah.
fine, and that's the
Absolutely.
message.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. With and also, with them dealing with such, tricky sexual kind of complexities and doing it in such a way that most people, it just would have gone over their head and it's a science fiction story. But don't think for a minute those writers weren't intentionally trying to tackle these problems in a very conservative network controlling them. So you have to give it up for them to be able to be so progressive in a time where they had a corporate structure above them that would have kept saying no, no, no.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, even going back to Pon Farr, which apparently my wife now wants to think every 7 years is appropriate. We'll have a chat about that later.
Yours too?
She'll kill me when she sees this. I'm sorry, Megan. I know that's opposite. In all seriousness, though, what an amazing decade. Like, in the sense of so much change, and to see it represented and funneled into this little Star Trek show, and it to be still so effective 50 years later, it's incredible.
Yep.
Absolutely. Anyone else got anything about the 60s they wanted to throw in there? If not, we're going to get moving, guys, because we'll get moving to the next segment.
Sounds
which
good.
takes us. Well, we're skipping a decade, and there's good reason, but now we're going to go into.
God, would I love to show you?
Doctor, there must be a cure.
Yes, that's obviously taken from The Naked Now.
That's right.
And yeah, we'll get there. But technically, I'm going to start talking about Star Trek, the motion picture. Now, I know everyone that came out in 1979, but deal with it. I'm doing it in the 80s period. Star Trek, the motion picture, it has only been about 3 years since I learned or noticed how sexually provocative that movie is.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable. I mean, to the point, guys, where the visuals are, I mean, literally we've got, Star Trek, like the Enterprise basically being a sperm as it makes its way into a giant space vagina. I mean,
space vagina. That's right.
So, I mean, we're getting there. I mean, it certainly was. And I've forgotten her. Someone remind me her name,
Ilea.
please.
Oh,
Ilea,
yeah.
of course. Ilea, in the film, she's so seductive and has these pheromones that can attract her.
Yeah.
That everyone has to fight against their attraction to her, especially Kirk.
Yeah.
But apparently she's such a good lover that she would, destroy normal men.
Yeah.
So and of course, at the end, the coupling.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's really, that's a sex scene right there, but just framed in a certain way that you're not really aware of it. But, yeah. And you throw Kirk the fact that he's drooling over his true lust for 10 minutes looking at the Enterprise.
Yeah.
If you watch that scene again, the look on his eyes is like, oh, baby, I'm turned on so much right now. Absolutely. So Star Trek, the motion picture. Joe, have you ever looked at it like that?
Not until now. I didn't even notice the space vagina until you brought it up today. I'm like, wow.
I'm with Joe on that. I did not notice the space vagina.
Yeah, I was like, wow.
Hey, Joe, you know what I forgot to do? And apologies, we forgot to go to the comments.
We sure did.
And see what the people out there.
We're going to go back to the top and say hello to our friends, Rowdy Claude.
Howdy, hi, Rowdy.
Hey,
Great content and TikTok.
Yeah, great work. Dancing on into this one.
Oh,
Our friend Navia.
Naya, hi, Naya.
How you doing?
Navia.
Navia, sorry. I'm an
It's an
Aussie.
Aussie. Yeah.
I'm occasionally going to drop an
We are
F-bomb, and I'm
fighting
always
the
going to say your name.
pronunciation of her name.
And then Normandy. Hey.
Hey, Normandy.
Oh, so good to see you. So good to see you. Our friend Navia, is super excited. What a fun topic. And then, of course, Captain Nita Love.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's been the coup of the century, getting Nita on board.
Yeah. Dramadork 884 says hello.
G'day, welcome
Hello,
aboard.
Dramador.
Hello. And then we saw the oh my, but we didn't see
Oh my.
from Aaron Sugar baked potatoes that he won.
Absolutely.
And then we've always got to keep in mind that Trek has always been a little horny.
It so has.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And why are we doing the show tonight?
Exactly. When you think about it, if you're out in space, even the people in the submarines in the water, they get a little hunting around. Something's got to work somehow.
And I know in this room that Joe himself had to take 3 cold showers today.
Right.
For this episode.
Yeah.
That's how naughty we're going to get.
And then our
Jiffy
other, Jiffy Pop from our other co-host, Jason Gaston.
Yes.
He's on special assignment in the moment. We'll see him back next week.
Exactly.
Taking a well-deserved break.
Yeah, and then Aaron Sugar says, "Well, Jason, something popped."
Once in a
Once in
TikTok,
a
we tried.
You want to go for it? Go for
Sorry,
it.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right.
Go
Once in the TikTok, we've tried to rank the series from least horny to most horny, or Prodigy to Enterprise. And
definitely.
then Normandy goes, "Oh my God, Drama Dork, Enterprise is too horny, so wild." And then not just the women,
Just
from
the
our
women,
friend
yeah.
Thomas
Exactly.
Louis, right?
Logue.
Logue.
I think
Okay.
Logue.
Yeah.
Don't trust
During the
nothing else.
60s, miniskirts
Yeah.
were part of the liberation movement. That's true.
Absolutely, they were.
Yeah, that's right. Claude says, "Whoa."
Whoa.
Also, I
Good.
love that Nimoy was allowed to have chest hair from
Yeah.
Drama
Do you
Dork.
think there was
Yeah.
an issue? But I think there would have been more chest hair.
I thought it
yeah,
would be
exactly.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah,
of the
I mean,
style.
it was the style of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the one who was kind of out of style was Kirk because he
Yeah.
got no chest hair. I don't know if he waxed it or
Yeah.
Maybe he just didn't grow it.
and he was
Yeah,
fine too. Hey, chestless,
Yep.
hair chests that are no hair is fine too. Okay, you're beautiful, men. You're beautiful.
That's right.
Love
He
your
is
body.
right, Aaron. There is
Yeah,
a
there's
difference.
a difference.
Isn't there?
Yeah, one big difference between Nimoy Spock
Yeah.
and Peck Spock is that Nimoy had chest hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is a good point from Drama Dork.
Yeah.
Hollywood makes men get rid of the chest hair now, and it's dumb.
That is weird. Like
Yeah.
it really does make kind of no sense. But,
Yeah.
we are in that era about everything is fake, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
you know, you
Yeah.
gotta appreciate the 70s for what it was because hair
Yep.
grew
There it is.
It was real.
there, and
Yep.
now we're
Uh,
all expected to be,
Clean, yeah.
hairless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Making them is bad, but I don't mind. I like like me a clean man. All right.
I found out, Rowdy.
I hear you. Agree, Drama Dork. Hair on men is fire from Witty
There
Treasures.
we go.
It's not easy being green. That was from the Orion there. And then the Super Ghoul is cozying
Oh,
up for this
Super Ghoul.
convo. How you doing, Super Ghoul? So good to see you here. And then nothing on Aaliyah. And then it was don't ask, don't tell, don't Delton.
That's right.
And then,
All
of
right.
course, we've got the awkward moment of the evening because my mom's here.
All right. Hi, Space Mom.
Hi,
Cosmic
Cosmic Mom. How's it going, Cosmic Mom?
Now it's going to be turning
Cosmic
into
Mom.
PG rated.
Yeah.
She's all our
Okay.
moms.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
thanks for that.
Oh,
Let's
that's so
get
funny.
back into the 80s now. And really, the
Mhm.
first film of the 80s was Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Yes.
And we're talking sexy.
Gone.
Yeah.
We're talking this man, right? Aren't we?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, my, look at him. You want to talk about a chest.
Right.
Yeah. It was nice
Like,
and
there was always
plastic.
that rumor that was a prosthetic.
It's prosthetic, yeah.
It wasn't, mate. That was
guy worked out.
all
Damn.
Ricardo.
Pure Ricardo Montalban.
Montalban.
Yeah.
Montalban.
That is
And-
Espanol. is
That's
mad
how you make a
stress.
good villain, though.
Yeah.
You make the man fear. You make a good villain by making the men fear him and the women want to be with him. And I think that was a great
Yes.
villain with that.
He
Um,
was excellent at that. He
Oh
really was.
yeah, he really was. But I wish I had I should have got the photo from him from Space Sea, but he looked quite different. But he was
Yeah.
still bringing it then too.
Yeah.
So,
Totally. Yep.
absolutely. The other thing out of Star Trek 2, when I think about the sex part of it, really isn't there was not a lot of sexual content in there, but attractive wise, Kirstie Alley, like as a young
Oh,
boy,
yeah.
she
Yes.
was there,
Gorgeous. Yeah.
like she was
Oh,
stunning.
yeah.
And
She was
honestly,
like
she was
all
my
right,
such a
first Star Trek
beautiful
crush.
Vulcan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't have that atypical haircut that they all have now.
Mm.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
she looked like a lady. Like
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
was just different, and
No, she was
just
definitely my
lovely.
first crush of Star
Yeah.
Trek. Was
Oh, nice.
yeah, I was
And then-
shattered when we get, and I'm getting to the third one.
Oh,
and they
they switched
recast,
it up.
you know,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
recast.
yeah. Well,
I'm
she
not going to
wasn't
get into
bad.
that movie too much, except for the one when we're going to talk about sexuality. There is one scene that's rather creepy, and I think Annie knows what I think I'm talking about here. Is
Oh,
this
yes.
Oh,
scene
yeah.
here.
That's right.
Oh
Is
yeah.
she
On par.
basically with a minor? Is that what's
Yep.
happening here?
Yep.
It looks like a little minor pump firing going on.
Yep.
Yeah, it doesn't seem kind of above board in my
Appropriate?
mind.
Yeah, they
Well,
should have
No.
used an older Spock for that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he was
Yeah.
like, he looked 18, 19, you go, well, she's a cougar then. No, but,
He looked like he was 14.
Cougar.
yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the
In
problem
that
with
movie.
it. That's,
Yeah.
you wouldn't do that scene today.
No.
No,
Put it
you
that
would
way.
not.
You would
No,
not
no.
do that scene today.
I guess because in several different forums that I'm part of and stuff, people have discussions about this scene fairly frequently. And
Okay.
the idea is, right, like, well, if they don't mate, then they die. So, like, we need him to be alive. So, like, okay.
Yeah.
It's
And
funny.
it's not all the way, right? We're just talking about, like, fingers, whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my.
still not gonna happen.
Oh my.
Right? Oh my. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
then
will say,
she
Kirstie
saved his
Alley-
life.
Not Kirstie Alley. Robin Curtis played a beautiful Savick. I really like her.
He did.
Yeah.
Savick.
She did
yeah.
do a great job. She was
Yeah.
beautiful. And she was another one who just had this beautiful curly hair and
Yeah.
didn't have this weird
That
kind
weird,
of.
like bowl
She
cut.
was beautiful,
Yeah,
But she wasn't
Someone-
when
Kirstie
you're
Alley.
crushing
Yeah,
on
she
one
wasn't Kirstie
version
Alley,
and then
yeah.
they replace her, you're a little bit brokenhearted when you're 14 in the
Yeah.
cinema.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going,
Yeah.
no. But, yeah,
It
we move
actually
on.
took me a few minutes when I saw the movie for the first time to realize what character she was playing.
Right.
Because I was thrown off by the change.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we
I
didn't
agree.
have the
agree.
information so easily streamed as we do
Mm.
today.
Yeah.
So there was no, oh look, there's a online news that so and so is playing,
Yeah.
the character and Christy
Yeah.
Alley is
Mm.
not. That
Right.
you just got surprised.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. But yeah, problematic scene. Now,
Yep.
Star Trek 4, I mean, we'll go along with the movies in the 80s. And
Mhm.
I'm even going to include Star Trek 6 in this decade. I know it
Oh,
came
good.
out in 91. Don't get weird, people. Nothing really in 4 grabs me. Maybe the relationship between Kirk and the biologist. But
Oh,
it never
yeah.
felt really sexual. It felt more of a flirty friendship. to
Yes,
me in that.
agreed.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think especially the way they ended that, right? Like, see you
Yeah,
around the
catch
galaxy.
you later. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah. You can text me later, whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this. I'm just going to call this the next film in Star Trek 5.
Oh, that
As to
scene with
me.
Uhura. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
taking it. Yeah. Let me get the words out.
Sorry.
I was trying to build it up.
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, to me, the sexiest scene of the decade in the movies is that fan dance.
I
Yeah.
was
I
thinking
know.
the same thing. Yes.
100%.
I know people
Yeah.
are going to go, hang on, man, she's in her late 50s. I don't care what you say.
I
She's
don't
gorgeous
care.
every
Hey,
year. of her
Smoking
life.
hot.
Yeah.
Hey,
Always smoking hot.
listen, I'll be 52 this year, and if I could look like her in a minute, I would.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was the sexiest scene.
Yeah. I mean, it was
So sexy.
paced really strange, you know what I
Right.
mean? But if you watch the
Yeah.
scene, it's if you actually take it out of context of the movie, it is. It's
It
really
is.
sexy.
And when she talks to the young officer
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
way she approaches him and she tells him to get into
Yeah.
the closet,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that scene was hot.
Yeah, that is hot too. Oh,
That
that's the
scene
thing.
was hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can't believe
come on, guys.
I'm getting like hot
So,
on the
would you
color
have
about Star
gotten
Trek
into the
5.
closet for her?
The best thing about Star Trek 5 was that scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In 6, I got to give it to Kim Cattrall. I think she
Oh, yeah.
Oh, what
to me,
about
has always
the-
been attractive, and
Oh,
she's
Yeah.
gorgeous
absolutely.
in that film as well. She brought a real, there wasn't really sexual tension, but there was a mystery allure about her, which was
Yes.
purposeful for the character, but made her very attractive. In my mind.
Yeah.
Yes, she's very alluring, like mysterious. in
But
that
let's
way.
not forget about the Klingon Chancellor's daughter. who became
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Princess.
right.
I
Yes.
thought I was like, wow, something's
Wow.
going on.
Yeah. You're starting to learn Klingon.
Yeah.
Can I take you out to dinner in Klingon?
Ooh. Yeah.
Let's
That's
hurl
it.
tables at each other, you
Yeah.
know? And break
But-
pelvises.
Yeah.
Me thinking about the films of the 80s, those motion picture films, I didn't feel that they were ever overtly sexual in tone as
Yeah.
much as the older series was very infused with sexuality. The films, they really muted it, don't they? Because
Right.
they want the box
Yeah.
office money, so therefore
Right.
they're
They
going to
want
make it. So
PG-13. and-
they want PG-13, exactly, Joe. But are there anything else that stand out in the films to you guys that was either positive or negative around sex or things that were flirty or alluring in those movies? Annie, is there anything you can think of? I think we kind of covered it, haven't we? Really?
I
I
think
think
we
we
did.
covered
We
it.
covered all of that.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
Yeah, I
it
think
was
so.
kind
They're
of-
not sexually charged movies.
No,
Yeah.
but Amon was also stunning in Star Trek 6.
Oh, she's gorgeous. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, but
Yeah.
you know that beauty, that attraction was quickly taken away when she shapes into that giant monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and
but
they,
yeah,
and
besides,
Kirk and her had sort of
A little vibe.
sexual
yeah.
chemistry.
Yeah.
Where
But
then
doesn't
he
Kirk
was
have that with a lamppost? Really, at
Yes.
this point,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Kirk has
Yeah.
done everything at this
why not a shapeshifter?
And
point.
before
Yeah.
we move on to something about Star Trek 4 that Aaron Sugar wanted to bring up, well, Dr. Lady was hot.
Yeah, the biologist.
Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
gorgeous. I can't remember the
And-
actress's name now, but she's been around.
Catherine.
Catherine.
Well, the internet will be
Catherine
yelling at us
Hicks?
about it.
Yeah.
Catherine Hicks.
Catherine
Oh,
Hicks.
That sounds
what a
good.
Yeah.
pretty pointer, Annie. Well done.
Yeah.
That is my favorite.
And then,
favorite Star Trek movie. I love
Oh.
Voyage Home.
oh, wow. How about that? It's
Yeah.
It's a
6 is
great
my
movie.
favorite.
It's a
It
great
is.
movie.
It is. It is. And then Kirk's son, I felt was
David Marcus and
He's a
Savick
handsome
had
man.
a little vibe.
Yeah.
going on.
yeah, they had a
Yeah.
little thing going on, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I wonder what really a lot of people thought about David, you know, because especially in 2 and that,
Yeah.
he's quite the young hot guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
he was.
And I
he
think
was.
Kirk got jealous and was like, you gotta kill my son off.
He totally
Real
did.
quick.
I
Oh no,
Yeah.
can you imagine? But he was, and you know, he was also on one of the episodes of Enterprise.
Yes, of
The
course.
actor.
He was.
Yeah,
He was?
yeah,
Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. He was
100%.
on the episode where
Oh,
two-
the Vulcan one?
no, the 2 planets that one of them was giving you the medicine, but it was really a drug, and then the other one supplied them with um engineering parts, and
Oh, yeah.
they didn't want to give them the medicine, and it was really that they were addicted to this drug.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a TNG.
Mhm.
Oh, it's a
Yeah,
TNG.
that's a
Yeah.
TNG one. Yeah. But he
And then he ended
was
up passing
very,
away right after that.
He
right?
passed
He
away
passed
shortly
away.
after.
After that, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
wow,
Now-
that's wild.
There may not have been a lot of sexuality in the movies, but they made up for it, guys, when we got the Next Generation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
let's just
sure
look at
did.
this
Woo!
crew.
Woo!
Yummy across the board, right? I mean, that's the best
Uh-huh.
looking Klingon I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
really,
right.
they are. I
Always
mean,
will be the best looking Klingon.
and I got to admit, I might have some, maybe a psychiatrist would have a field day with this, but Beverly Crusher, I crushed on her hard.
It was me and
Yes.
Deanna Troy had a special thing going.
Whew.
I
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, this is true story. Little 13-year-old Annie. I think I mentioned this in the group chat. Okay, Lieutenant Commander Data was in my locker
Oh, wow.
as a kid, and I totally got bullied for that. Which, okay, kids are mean or whatever, but I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
give a crap. I was like, dude, he's hot. Okay, Brent Spiner,
Yeah.
freaking hot. I didn't
Yeah.
care.
Well, you weren't the
Yeah,
only one to think
celebrity
that, Annie, of
crush.
course, with that infamous scene.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right.
Right.
He is fully
And-
functional.
He is
Yeah.
fully functional, and it was a little weird that it was Tasha Yar.
Right?
Look, there's a whole lot of weird about that episode, though. That's
Yeah.
the first episode after the 2-parter of Account of Farpoint. So
Yep.
this is technically episode 2 of the entire series.
Yes,
And we've got the crew who we barely know losing
up.
their
Yeah,
inhibition.
hooking up.
hooking
Hooking
up.
up. Left,
Woo!
right, and center.
It's like
Yeah.
it was like a ship of orginess. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
it
a
was.
big
It was totally a
orgy
simplified
going
orgy.
on.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then
Yeah.
is Data technically a sex toy?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That was-
Yeah, in a way, in that moment he was. That's
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Absolutely. But this show, and in the first season, they really pushed sexuality very hard, I think.
Yeah.
In the first
Oh,
season.
yeah.
I mean, we talk about Riker, and I don't have that shot. I wish I did, of him being bare chested when he's going to go to that planet and the female leg.
yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking about it
Angel
before we
One.
went to air.
Angel
Angel
One.
One.
Angel
Yeah.
One, which we
Yes.
watched. So
Ugh.
and you know, it's spread across that, and then we will never, guys, be able to cover every bit of the things that talks about sexuality in TNG because it is infused throughout the entire 7 seasons.
You're right.
I mean, certainly, and we
And
have it between
TNG
characters
Yeah,
so
and
much.
TNG gave us the first understanding of Klingon mating rituals.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Bingo. Yes.
Yep.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what TNG did the best, I think. The expansion
it's-
of the Klingon
Yeah.
mythology.
And it's
Yeah.
very reminiscent of mating in the 50s in America.
Yeah, I
you
believe
might
it.
not get that one, but you'll
Okay.
get it when you're older. No.
That's right.
But they definitely, as we could see, like
Yeah.
even the
Oh,
guys.
yeah.
I mean, I didn't know guys could get camel toes, but there you go.
You can. Yep.
No. That's what we call my friend a moose knuckle.
That,
Oh my God, we've
That's a
degenerated to this.
sexy scene.
that was
This-
sexy.
Even though he
This
looks like
thing
he's
here-
about to throw up. Somebody ate onions for sure.
It's so sexy, but it's disturbing at the same time because of
Yeah.
the way he goes. You know, doctor, not now. It's
Yeah.
like, whoa, dude, what's with the weird kind of tone? You know.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it was crazy that they went. Oh, by the way, yep, we're gonna have them all sleep with each other in the
Yeah.
second episode. But you know, it really was handled, I think, as they went along with more and more class.
Yeah.
I especially love some of the ongoing sexual relationships we got in
Yeah.
the show. You know, and obviously, you know, Deanna Troy's involved in a couple of them. You
Yeah.
know, obviously with both Worf for a period, small period there, and Riker
Mhm.
and
Troy.
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
And we
You know, one
can't, and we
relationship-
must mention our honorable mention has to be the very sexy Laxana Troy.
Yes. I
Well,
was
you
just
took the
thinking
words
about
out of
her.
my mouth because his
Ah!
relationship has gone further,
I'm
Nita.
sorry.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm
No,
sorry.
100%. We're on song. We're in sync here.
That's
Nita.
right. That's
Because
right.
there's the one relationship I kind of really wish the Luxana got her way with Picard. I
Yeah.
really wish it had happened. 'Cause she was such a
Yes.
willing partner. And she, you know, the thing
Yeah.
about betazoids in the sense, like, you know, how sexually, I don't know how to way expressive they
They're
are.
just free.
Open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sexually
free.
open and free.
To the fact that when they get married, they're naked.
Totally naked.
Yes.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
which is interesting. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, they're very sexually free and liberated and things like that. And
Yes.
I reckon they handled the betazoids really well with that though, because you could have gone really tawdry with it, but they
Yeah.
still had boundaries and lines and things like that. However, I do feel that sometimes Troy was, as we know, put into situations in a couple of episodes that's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm thinking about a scene from Generations movie. I'm also thinking about another
Yes,
scene
agreed.
in this episode from
Insurrection?
series 6, I think it was.
Oh.
Am I thinking of that one where
Nemesis.
someone's evading her mind again?
Nemesis.
Oh, yeah.
Nemesis.
Nemesis,
And she
sorry.
clearly described it as a violation.
Yeah.
And I don't think
Yeah.
it was understood by Picard that that was to her the same as had he violated her, you know, physically.
Physically.
Yeah.
In person.
And I feel Troy got the wrong end of the stick here, especially the
Absolutely.
actress.
Yeah.
I feel that she did throughout the series because they did highly sexualize her. She's
Oh,
a
absolutely.
beautiful woman.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think they took it a bit far and they
Mhm.
could have brought it back a little bit. And I think as a character, she had way more to offer than just the fact that,
Yeah.
you know, she looked good in anything that she wore.
Yeah.
And
Um,
it wasn't the first time. Our commenter reminded me here of Violations. The episode Violations was
Yeah.
another episode where she was being
Yes, that's the
psychically
episode I'm thinking of.
violated.
That's
Yeah.
the episode I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Wow. She gets sexually minus
3 times.
3 times. Wow.
100% right. That is
Yeah,
accurate.
and for Beta said that their psychic or mental ability is so strong and their emotional connections, it has to be
Yeah.
just as real.
Yeah,
no, this
exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Without
Of,
question.
of course, my mom brings up the
Mama
fact
Troy.
that Mama Troy was a space cruiser.
Yeah.
And then we got some Loxana Forever.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So there's a lot of love for.
I tell you what, I would have, if I was lucky enough to have been anywhere, I would have fallen under a spell. I would have done anything like that.
Yeah.
What I think is so
Because
interesting
you know
about
what also
Luxana,
made
though-
her sexy? She was old and she was beautiful, but
Absolutely.
she always was genuinely interested in the person.
Yeah.
And was so affectionate and so caring. And yeah, actually, the more we do this show, the more the thing I've got some parental psychological issues to deal with here because I'm crushing over Dr. Beverly Crusher, who's a mum. I'm crushing over Luxana Troy,
Who's
who's
a
a
mom.
mum. Yeah, I think I might have to make an appointment after.
And then
this.
Kirstie Alley was famous for playing Look Who's Talking To Mom. So
Yeah, but I was
That's
crushing on her early on, so that's okay. How
But
about
Andy,
this
we're gonna
time
s-
when we
oh.
talk
Okay,
about
that
weird
was
stuff?
the creepiest section.
That was
Yeah.
a weird episode in my
Yeah, that
mind.
was definitely weird.
And that's dancing the line of maybe being inappropriate too.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, and I,
as
I
much
never
as they
really understood how they came to that particular episode. Like, what was going through that writer's mind?
yeah, well,
A
you're
ghost
dealing
doing
with
you?
probably writers who are still baby boomers at that
Yeah.
stage
Yeah.
would have been in the writing
Yeah.
room. So a very different world view, I think,
Mm-hmm.
than what we would definitely have today. But for what they all did wrong, they did a couple of things really right by tackling
Absolutely.
a couple of
Yeah.
massive things. And one of them being, and I'm making sure I've got it here, is when Data has a child. And what's really interesting about this, about the sexual side, nothing that's sexually titillating in this episode, except for the first time, I believe, on television, a living being is having the choice to choose their own gender.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, this has got to be a watermark episode, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Really?
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's not perfect, that episode, because at the end of it, I think diminishes the power of the choice, because
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that they get to choose a female, and because they chose their own gender, they're now going to die. I
Yeah.
think that was wrong,
Yeah.
that messaging at the end. But I choose to not worry about the end and go, no, finally, we're starting to address this on a mass popular scale in entertainment.
Yeah.
Gender issues. Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
me, and someone who's got a trans cousin in the family and things
Mm-hmm.
like that, it was really important for them to have the first time that they felt something like that, where they got to actually choose who they wanted to be, was actually being dealt with. So it was
And
a
you know what
very-
I thought was really fantastic about how they
Mm.
dealt with it? There was
Mm.
never a moment where they said they're letting it pick. Like
No
they never
judgment.
said that. There was no judgment. There
Yeah.
was just
Mwah.
like, oh, okay, here, let's give you some
Yeah.
options.
Right.
This
It's
is
an example,
males
Nita,
and
of
these, yeah.
it's
Mhm.
an example of Star Trek again being so
Yes.
progressive, isn't it? So
Yeah.
like on top of the game and respectful
Mhm.
when it comes to all walks of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and representation. I'm
Yes,
sure people who were struggling with gender identities,
Mhm.
especially during that time where the resources were limited, definitely got
Where
some
else?
sort of
Yeah.
strength from that episode.
Yeah, where else are you getting the opportunity to see yourself represented on screen? Nowhere in 1988 or 89
Yeah,
when that
yeah.
episode came out. And then I think another really important watermark episode when you're talking about different types of sexuality is, and I think I've got the right image here.
Yes.
This episode
Outcast.
here, a non-binary character. Is that fair
Yeah.
to say?
Yes, non-binary.
Absolutely.
It's the first time we actually get a non-binary character
Mhm.
on screen. And you know what? They could have chickened out,
Yeah.
but they didn't. They had a relationship,
Yep.
Yeah.
and
And
that was probably
it also talks of, if you really pay attention to the episode, it also addresses sexuality, because her planet was so non-gendered that if you chose a gender, it was scandalous. That's no different than us creating
No.
scandal about individuals who are coming out and saying, I'm gay, I'm a lesbian, or I'm
Yeah.
trans, I'm queer, whatever it is, and then getting all of this backlash and hate, and that's what she was experiencing.
Well,
Yeah.
they were arresting her, I believe, in that. Well, sorry, them.
Yes.
Again,
Yeah.
apologies for them.
Mhm.
They arrested them in that, and that was a crime. Now, if you think about our own society 100 years ago, it was a crime.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
in our own,
Yeah.
where we live now, they would have been arrested. They would have been actually
Yeah.
probably put in a straitjacket.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
that's the
And there
way-
was a time when, if you was homosexual, you were
Mm.
put in a mental institution, and given conversion therapy.
Yeah.
That's
Mm.
what they were doing to
That's
her. They
exactly
were
what they
And
were
that's
doing
forcing
to her.
exactly.
They
yeah.
were ungendering her or whatever, right? She basically went
Mhm.
through
Yeah.
that planet's version of conversion therapy.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's exactly what they did. And I
Yep.
think that people struggling during a time when, again, information was not as uh o- open and as
Yeah.
easy to access, and resources weren't as easy to access, and you kept quiet because you didn't know if your next door neighbor was going to
Yeah.
shun you and tell everyone, and then they'll be
There's a
burning
lot
your
of
house
vi-
down. This
Sadly,
really was
where I
important.
come from, there was a lot of violence when it came to homosexuality, especially in the 70s and 80s in Australia. There's a lot of it. I mean, thankfully, we're evolving.
Good.
And certainly, though, I mean, that was just against homosexuals. Our limited Australian brains in that period, if you had a trans person or a non-binary, it just would have broke their brain. They never could kind of handle that kind of. So it was, to me, really important this episode that they did that.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be exactly a very powerful
Absolutely.
episode for a lot of people. And I'm talking as a straight white male, and the only reason I'm aware of it is because I've got good education around me, surrounded, like, mainly raised by women, trans cousin, just happened to be in the theatre for a while, so I was exposed to a lot of diversity. But most people I knew, no way, especially in Australia, was you're a bloke, you drink your beer, you go home to the little lady, you slap her around once in a while. It was a very misogynistic, horrific kind of period in the time. That's why Star Trek, I think, is important globally.
Yes.
Because we have all these
Absolutely.
different cultures, and we all need to be educated. So,
Yeah.
How about you, Joe? You got anything to add, buddy? You're still thinking about the baked potatoes dress, aren't you?
I was, I was like,
Yeah, I thought so.
He's thinking about Uhura.
the dance.
Absolutely.
No, as somebody that works in the fashion industry, I think it's fantastic to have that fluidity for the gender roles, and
Yeah.
especially when you had the Data's daughter episode up
Mm.
and the non-binary episode.
Mm.
I thought those were both
It
at
was-
that
Yeah,
time
mine,
groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Because that was before Ellen came out, so that
Totally.
were really
Oh, yeah.
again pushing the
so ahead
envelope
of the
into
curve.
acceptability, which is what
Yeah.
Mhm.
we've come to love. Everybody. Let everybody love.
Yep.
How's the chat going, Joe?
Chat is blowing up. We've got
It is awesome.
yeah.
Keep
So
it coming,
Aaron-
guys.
Aaron Sugar said, if you haven't read Imzadi by Peter David, I highly
Yes.
recommend it.
Okay, I've not
Great
heard of
book.
that.
I have not
Is
heard
it?
of that either, so I will
That
check
one
that
is
out.
about Troy.
Yep. Troy and Riker.
Okay.
Troy
Yeah.
and
Okay.
Riker.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's very hard to watch as someone who related to her a lot. I'm assuming this is Data's daughter, Drama Dork.
Or
I'm not
Soren.
sure, or Troy. I think one or the other.
Yeah, maybe. I think they were trying the whole gothic romance, which
Oh.
that always had elements of non-con, but the ghost candle was weird. Okay, that was
Weird,
the
yeah,
doctor,
yeah. Absolutely.
Don't worry about your mom crushes, Jace. I'm known for fictional crushes on dads, fictional dads.
Okay, I feel a
There you
bit
go.
better, but I mean, like, I'm an old man now myself. Well, actually, Nita's telling me off for that. I'm not allowed to say that. I'm forever 21 as a young, big
There you
old
go.
man. There's nothing wrong with digging on mums.
Yeah. When the conversion therapy worked in that episode, it broke my heart. I cried
Yeah.
so much.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah.
Her
I
spirit was
was
incredible.
hurt by
And then
that.
Sarah
I was
Andrews
very
bald
as well.
disappointed.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
very disappointed too.
Yeah.
It's an emotional
Yeah.
moment.
That book is something. We definitely got to pick it up.
Very
yeah,
good.
definitely.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, guys. If we've talked about the 80s, it's time now to head to the 90s.
Goodbye, my little Pamachka.
Goodbye, my fearless warrior.
I love that particular scene from that.
And that was
later
a fun episode. But any
Yeah,
episode
yeah.
where the Klingons show up is going to be a ball.
Fantastic. Now the 90s. Wow, what an era we've got in the 90s. And we certainly, when we talk about sexuality being more open and diversity, we get it. We get it in spades in this decade.
Yeah.
Most problematically with Star Trek Generations, which I don't really want to touch on much.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a highly sexual movie at
No.
all.
It's a highly boring movie.
Okay. So to you, I mean, the series, I think, honestly, in my mind, I think to myself, oh, it's really, Voyager's the sexiest show than Deep Space Nine.
Right.
I used to think that. Not entirely convinced now, because going back to Deep Space Nine in recent times, it's a very sexually charged show.
Yeah.
And of course, driven by this stud muffin himself.
Woo!
Yeah.
Yes,
Let's
baby.
just-
Look at that.
Disco.
I don't care what your preferences in life. You cannot look at that man and go, he is embodying, he's oozing sex, especially when he goes bald. He's my inspiration.
Yep.
Especially when he goes bald with that goatee.
Yeah.
He turns it to 11, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Have you seen him lately? He's in his 70s and he's still yummy.
74. Yeah.
74.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
he is as yummy as he ever was.
Yeah.
I'll take him at 74. I'm just saying. Bring it, boo.
Yeah, we touched on it before. We should really probably get into it now, and that is the underlining storyline that they couldn't in the mid-90s for whatever reason make actual, on the page and actually come out and say it, and that is the relationship between Garrick and Julian.
Yes.
What a good picture you picked.
That's a great picture.
Yeah, I love that
and
episode.
it's-
Our man
That's the reason
Bashir.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it was from the get-go when they met. It was a very strong, I want to say almost predatory kind of, hunt against Julian from Garrick. Garrick was
Yeah,
very
he pursued
sexually
him for
intrigued.
sure.
Yes.
And
There
Yeah.
was never really a clear explanation as to why he was so fascinated with
Mm.
Dr. Bashir. So the only conclusion you can think is that there was a romantic interest that he didn't quite want to fully pursue, but yeah, he kind of wanted it around
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the other, if you're talking about some of the big moments from Deep Space Nine that grab you in regards to sex, I've got to mention the kiss, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The kiss
Mhm.
has to be mentioned, handled with a lot of class, I got to say.
Yes, it was.
It could have been very tawdry, but it was handled well and it felt natural. It also not only is probably the first example of a lesbian kiss, but in many ways, the Dax themselves is it's a character that because it's a symbiote.
Right.
Yeah.
One version's a man, one version's a woman, one version it could be a Gorn for all I know.
Yeah.
So, we're dipping into those areas as well. Again, not overt because you couldn't do it in the 90s, but they're dealing with it for sure. So, the mirror episode of Deep Space Nine, we did this recently, didn't we, Joe? I don't know if I've still got the picture here.
With
Of-
when Kira was space horny for everything.
Yeah. She's very sexual in that show. And I don't know if
Yeah.
I've got a picture of her. Do I have? No,
Ah!
no, I haven't. There's Worf holding up jocks.
Yeah.
Good on you, Worf.
I think
So
that
it's
the
all about this-
relationship with Jetsia and
I love
Worf
that.
was it gave some
Look at-
real insight on sex between interspecies. She
Yeah.
is a Trill. He is Klingon. Klingons are
Mm.
aggressive and strong, and they don't think that the wedding night is successful unless someone breaks something, like body
Right.
parts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, she's a little bit more delicate, right? But she was able to keep up with him. And there was this conversation with her and Cisco where he's
Mm.
like, you've been to the, you went to Bashir. How many times have you broken this and that? He goes, interspecies lovemaking takes time, and it's and this is so amazing because it really
Yeah.
talks about being in a mixed relationship or in anything new in your life that is intimate.
Maybe you've got
Yeah.
a relationship with someone who has a physical disability, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
things you have
Exactly.
to
Yeah, because didn't
approach things from a
Bashir
different
almost
way.
sleep with one woman that had
Yeah, the wheelchair.
the
Ooh,
wheelchair
yes.
lady? Yeah, he almost
Yes.
slept with a handicapped
Mhm.
woman. Yeah.
Well, she
Yeah,
wasn't
absolutely.
technically handicapped
No, it was a
so much.
gravity.
It was a
Yeah.
gravity thing,
Yeah,
but she
yeah.
was still in a wheelchair.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
gravity difference would have played a part of being creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it teaches us that, if you really like someone, if you really care for somebody, just get creative. Take that opportunity to learn something new. It
Yeah.
doesn't always have to be, picture perfect every
No,
time.
that's right.
It could be a fail. It could be a fail. That's okay. We'll learn our lessons.
It gives
We'll do
it gives you
again.
it gives you a new meaning. It will spin you right round, baby.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
Joke. Kind of threw me off
One of-
track then with that comment. No, I mean Deep Space Nine. How about this for sex? We have a legal brothel operating. on
Yeah,
Deep Space
yeah.
Nine.
Yes.
Yeah, Aaron Sugar
We
brought it up.
do. With blackjack and
Blackjack and
hookers.
hookers, yeah, the
Aaron,
That's
Dabo
right.
One Dabo girls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dabo girls. I mean, wow, that's a game changer for Star Trek.
Yeah.
We go from the 80s, which is trying to recreate an ideal universe.
Mhm.
Now,
Right.
and then we go to Deep Space Nine where we go, no, we're dirty creatures. We got perverts from all across the galaxy who
Yeah.
need to go to have some holodeck time. I mean,
That's
that's
right.
the worst job, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Who's
We
this
also
class
got to-
offsider that has to clean those rooms afterwards? That's the worst job ever. In the
We
holodeck
did get
rooms.
to understand Ferengis a lot more and
Yeah.
learn about
Yeah.
their culture and sexual habits.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
When you talk about the Betazoid nudity, they do nudity too for completely different reasons.
Right.
for
All their
different
women are not allowed to wear clothes.
and
Right.
they can't leave the house.
Yeah.
Well, and that's interesting, isn't it? That
Yeah.
the Ferengi, and I think it makes sense that species they would be so misogynistic. So
Yeah.
the patriarchy is completely dominant in that.
Yeah.
in that
And the
world.
level of capitalism, I think that
Right.
is so
Yeah.
extreme, even for our time today. It's like
Yeah.
extreme,
Yeah.
where it's like, so you have a 3-year-old, so what? Put them to work and don't pay them.
Yeah.
You're like, we
Right.
wouldn't do that, right? But they would.
Yeah.
It's extreme.
Some of
But
those
they-
rules of
yeah.
acquisition are pretty smart, though. I got to admit.
They are. They are.
Like I got, should remember that one.
Mhm. Yeah, and the ear thing. Watch with the Uma.
Uma.
Umox, yes.
That
Uma.
was like, don't stop until you see smoke. Remember that line? That line is forever burnt in my head. And I'm like,
Hilarious.
wait, they need to show that because I need to see what that looks like.
Now, like I said at the beginning of this segment, to me, the sexiest show is Voyager.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, because that by
Balana.
design, we're really being
Yeah.
overt here, aren't we?
Mhm.
Yeah.
With
Seven
the
of
Balana
Nine,
especially
had-
when
yeah.
7 of 9
Yeah.
comes in.
With
That
that
is a
peeled on
pin-up.
suit,
That's right.
Yeah. But look at all of them are gorgeous. And again, Captain Janeway, yum. Like,
Yeah.
I think we really got to bottom, to my head thing here. Because again, Captain Janeway, so sexy all the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
And
Like,
I think
all
the
the time.
sexiest couple on there has to be Tom and Balana. First
Mhm.
of all, they took
Yeah.
so long to get together because they were friends, which is really the
Yeah.
making of a true relationship. You
You know,
can't
the year
have
from
the
hell?
crazy sex if you
Yeah.
are not friends with someone, right?
Yeah.
There's a great scene from Year from
Mm.
Hell. Is it Year from Hell where the
Yes.
captain has to drag them both in the office and say, "Look, guys, I know you have a relationship, but basically stop doing it in the hallways.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it,"
Yes.
which I thought was hilarious.
And the
Like,
line that 7 and 9 says, everybody knows when you're doing it on deck such and such
yeah,
because
yeah.
they're so loud. But it's
Yeah.
also an insight on that Klingon mating ritual
Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
Tom, not being Klingon, is very much able to keep up and say,
Yeah.
I got this,
Yeah.
Talk about giving something a chance, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't knock it till you try it. He's the guy for that.
I gotta go back to this picture of Janeway, yeah. Because
Oh, I love that.
She
well,
is
I'll do
powerful
anything she
sex.
She's
says
so
at any
hot.
time.
She is a power sexy.
Mhm.
Like
You know
Yeah.
what
you
else
see
was?
her standing like that. I don't
Yeah.
care if you're straight, gay, female, male, they, them. You
But you're gonna get the
cannot
shit
say that
home.
she is not sexy. She's
Yeah.
sexy.
Yeah.
Nah, that
She's hot.
that makes her sexy. She doesn't care.
Yes.
She's
Yeah.
driven. Nah, yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Hey, you know what we didn't mention when it comes to sexiness? I don't know, Joe. You with me on this one, buddy?
Oh yeah, the Duras
Oh,
sisters.
yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. What can I say?
Even Worf's wife was
Terrifying.
very
Yes.
attractive.
Taylor, yeah.
Yeah.
Kayla was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
But we're going
And
back to Voyager, and if you saw that clip, I mean,
Yeah.
Poor
even
Neelix.
she-
Yeah.
poor Neelix.
Oh, he's a trooper.
yeah.
That's the episode where I started liking Neelix. So I was like, you know
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
I like
Because
this
he
guy.
goes up and he manhandles, he throws Harry Kim against the wall.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
if you
right.
go into my kitchen again.
Yeah. And I was like, all right, I like this guy now.
Yeah.
It turned
I
me
think
around.
finally all his studying of the different species Voyager paid off and got him laid.
Yeah.
Because he was just not
Oh,
getting them.
yes.
Yeah.
He was
Yes.
not, because that relationship with Cass was creepy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never
That-
liked that relationship ever.
That
I
was
know,
icky.
me neither.
Yep,
that was
totally.
icky. That had icky all over. all
Yeah,
over
and
it.
you know what? I think it soured the character of Kess forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, and the way they were actually, her last episode I watched 2 nights ago
Yeah.
again. And man, God, they really wrote her out of that quickly, didn't they? And she,
I
she
felt
didn't
bad
have
for
many.
her.
And the scene, if you look at her, she's actually really only filming with Janeway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and the doctor, maybe, but there's no mask. Normally, when you're saying goodbye to the character, there's going
It's
to be
everybody
all of them at the
cast.
yeah,
Yeah.
going to be saying goodbye. Not with her. They
Nah,
didn't,
she was
so-
too busy going.
Yeah,
But you know
Exactly.
It was smart she got out of there because the strangest, most sexually disturbing thing I've ever seen on Star Trek is this, and we've already talked about
Oh yes.
Yes.
it. Threshold people,
Threshold.
I
Yeah.
wanna
Turn 'em
know
into
what happened
lizards,
to that
and they
colony.
have babies.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's the awkward conversation when they're turned back. Remember that?
Yeah,
We didn't show-
we-
you're on the show too, Annie. When we
That
couldn't
was
get over how
creepy.
awkward that conversation was.
Oh
She
my
walks
God.
up to Tom. You know, Tom, we had children together. It was like,
You
ah.
just feel there was
Yes.
one night in the writer's room, someone pulled out a joint.
That's
Because-
right. You know it.
And they went, hey man, you know what we'll do? We'll turn them into lizards, man.
Yeah.
Let's do it, man. It'll be awesome.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
clearly that's how they got.
Yeah, they were
to it,
watching
for sure.
porn while getting high. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how they came up with that episode.
Yes.
Okay.
So funny.
Now, what this still goes today. I still read controversy about this today. Is the unfulfilled romance people think should have happened but never happened between
no, I never.
Janeway and Chakotay? I want to know from everyone here, where's their stance on it? Should they have gotten together or should they have not have?
Not
because-
during Voyager.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not during Voyager.
because
First
that.
of all, I mean, we are not fans of Robert Beltran, but
Mm.
I will say, oh my Lord, delicioso. He is handsome.
I
I forgot my English. Oh, the accent come out. He is delicioso. So I can see, and she's beautiful. So I can see why they might want to put them together. But during the voyage home and
Mm.
during that journey, that would have created conflict.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you don't know
Mm.
if a relationship is going to work out, but you're stuck in a spaceship with them,
Yeah.
and you're not just different. You're working together all the time.
Yeah.
It's not like engineering and helms. There's a
Mm.
separation there. There's a distance you can keep. There's no distance there. They would have been in each other's face. And
And
they
being a
were-
commander, it's your job to be devil's advocate. A lot of
Captain,
times,
Exactly.
isn't it?
officer,
You've
yeah.
got to go and
Mhm.
ask the question, well, what if this happened? Well, we shouldn't do this because of
Totally.
this. And I'm glad they never did it.
Yeah.
And I think it's
Yeah.
paid off well
And
in Prodigy now. I think that
yeah.
that choice
Yeah.
is
And
paying
it's
off
funny
well.
you mentioned that because Sarah Andrews says Janeway's hunt for him in Prodigy has lost lover vibes.
Yeah.
It does. It
It
does.
does.
And what it does, it makes it even more gripping because
Yeah.
now as an audience, you go, what is it because you're my friend or do you have
Right.
feelings for him?
Mhm.
Mhm.
What is the real emotional motivation to get him?
Yeah.
I will say that in the books, they did develop a relationship. I know
Really?
the books are not
Okay, I
considered
did not know
canon,
that.
Yes, I
but in
understand.
the books
Yeah.
they do.
Fanfics.
Yeah.
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 But I think it was a win for Janeway, because can you imagine Chakotay as your lover?
Woo! I can.
Yeah,
I'm
neither is
imagining
that
it
Captain.
right now.
Wait. Captain, is that it? Is that the best? Am I the best? Captain, Captain.
I don't
Hello?
think neither at that point is caring what's coming out
I
of
don't
his
think
mouth.
she would.
So,
But
but
he's so-
Voyager,
yeah.
this is where Voyager, I think, makes a misstep, and I love this character, but it felt so obvious what they were trying to do here, and that is bringing in 7 of 9 and making her such a highly sexual being.
Yep.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I love the idea, and she plays it so well. It was a wonderful performance for
Yeah.
Voyager.
She
playing
is
it forward.
beautiful. She plays it.
She is gorgeous.
beautifully.
It just
But I
was a bit
like the
disappointing.
fact. I like the fact that as sexy as she was, they kept her at arm's distance from
Oh
everyone
yeah, she
Yeah.
because
didn't
of the Borg
understand.
part of her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she had no idea, well, really no concept of being objectified or anything
Yeah.
else like that. It just felt by this time, and we're talking the late 90s now, we
Mhm.
could have, moved away from skin tight stuff a little bit. And as we go on, we get better and better with it. I think it gets its worst part was when that Q Junior comes in
Oh,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
blinks her clothes off.
Oh,
And it's a kind of a funny scene, but yeah.
yeah.
I like the
7
fact
of
that
9,
she didn't
luckily.
react.
Yeah. She's
She
like,
didn't
like-
react. She just turned her shoulder and just went, "Yeah, well,
All right.
I'm doing my
got work
job.
to
What do you
do."
want?"
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, Voyager, yeah, there's a lot of sex going on in that show. Because that show for me is a bit hit and miss. Like,
Some
the always
episodes are
problem with
great.
Voyager I have is you have 2 or 3 amazing episodes, and then
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
get a really bad episode.
This is the
But overall-
fatigue. The fatigue.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is Trek fatigue. Yeah.
The sexy men of that decade. We talked about Cisco. We talked about Chakotay. We've talked about that. What about Harry Kim? Does he get any love? Because he's
He
a
was
good-looking
nominated
guy.
sexiest
Yeah.
man. What year
Yeah.
was it?
I
In a-
thought
in
he
a
was-
magazine? Yeah.
And of course Tom Paris. Like,
Yeah.
I never for as another dude, I go, oh man, you're one of those guys. You're annoying. You're a
Mm.
douchebag. So I've never actually been a massive fan of Tom Paris, to be honest with you.
But
But
let's
is
give
he?
some love
Is he?
to Tuvok.
Yes, Tuvok.
Tuvok
Oh,
was,
yeah,
a
it's-
much older than the
Yeah.
character he was even playing or the
Yeah.
people around him.
Yeah.
Yet, he looked good.
He did
Absolutely.
look
I
good.
have to bring this comment up from Philip 1814, my
My
agent
agent
persuasion.
Oh, yeah.
He
Philip.
loves
Hey,
Harry.
Harry, there you go, man. See, I'm not wrong.
Sexiest
That's right.
ensign in the fleet. Look
That's
at that.
right.
There is a lot of love for Harry Kim in this room today.
Absolutely.
I knew it. I'm not the only perverted one. Now, so we've talked. Is there anything Voyager that sticks out in your mind, guys, before we kind of move on to the movies of the 90s?
I
That you
actually
wanna
had
talk
one more
about?
thought. I had one more thought about DS9, and this
Yes.
scene sticks in my head. Considering how people interact with people who are trans after they transition, and they meet them and they introduce a new name, new pronouns, a new
Yep.
experience, right? That I am a new person. I am me,
Yeah.
who I was meant to be. And that is Curzon meeting Jadzia.
Yes.
Yes.
And he says, oh my God, I am forgetting Jadzia's name before, but he says, "Oh, my old friend." And she
Yes.
says, "I'm Jadzia now." And she, Curzon says, "Jadzia, my beloved old friend." And
Oh,
so,
you're talking about the Klingon.
yes, Curzon.
Yeah. Core.
Or
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So he says, "Curzon, my beloved old friend," and she says, "I'm Jadzia now." And so the Klingon says, "Oh, Jadzia, my beloved old friend."
Yeah.
So it's this beautiful moment of acceptance, just
Yes.
love and affection for a friend
Yeah.
that they've known for so long. you know, okay, you're new.
Uh,
Let me call you your new name. Let me call you your new pronouns. Whatever,
Exactly.
you know. I love
I've
you. And you're
forgotten
my
about
friend.
that. I'm so glad you mentioned that because
Yeah.
that is
That's a good one.
I
when we're
love that.
talking about journey along a process of evolution of how they're being represented on television. That's a watermark moment
Yeah,
right there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Curzon.
So good.
so
Yeah.
good there. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
such a good scene.
yes.
It is absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All
Have
right.
you need anything else that sticks out to you?
I think that for me in Voyager, one of also the things that Voyager explored sexuality a lot, even with the EMA.
Yeah.
He had a
Yeah.
relationship many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that it goes to show you that they were trying to send out that same message that sexuality is okay and it's nothing to hide from. We don't have to be embarrassed about sex. We wouldn't be here without sex.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know, as
exactly.
gross as it is to
Completely-
think of our parents doing it, we wouldn't be here
They did
without
it.
it.
Yeah, they did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, and I think that Voyager really explored the different aspects of sexuality.
It's
Um,
definitely a big step in the evolution of the
Mhm.
Yeah.
of the approach to sex.
Yeah, and with
on television.
Deep Space Nine, we got a leader, you know, in Cisco that embodied so much sexuality.
Oh.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a Kirk, where he had women, you know, he was
Yeah,
very
you're right.
reserved.
Yeah.
He was about
He was only with
relationship.
his first wife and
Yep.
then
The
know,
second
Cassidy
wife.
Yates.
Yeah.
Way
Because-
at the
Yeah,
end.
he was a relationship man, a
Yeah,
monogamous.
Yeah, and
He
then to
wanted
me,
a
he's always that
family.
father figure too. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
he was a great
Sexy
representation
dad vibes.
of of being a husband and a father. Yeah, he's got that dad vibes, but in a really kind of
Yeah, and I think
because he
that
handles his business.
yeah, and I
Right.
think that people need to understand that, you know, if you're the type of person who's into relationships and not being player, that's okay too. That's sexy too. You know,
Yeah.
it's really what brings you joy,
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
brings
yeah.
you pleasure. That's sexy, not what society says it is.
Yeah.
Because society isn't living your life. You
Right.
are. Yeah. You know, and he had plenty of opportunities. The man was
Oh, yeah.
tall, beautiful, intelligent,
Totally.
And if-
strong. He
And
could
if you
stand
want to
face
doubt that, just look behind Nita's shoulder.
Oh yeah.
She
yeah.
believes what she says, all right?
That's
She's
right.
putting her money where her mouth is.
That's
when it comes
right.
to Cisco.
But you know, he he really was not about using that sexy part of him to get the chick, you
Yeah.
know. Because even when he met Cassidy Yates, he was hesitant to meet her, you know, because he was a man of relationship, not a man of, you know, just going.
Well, he's
from
got
bed
all
to
those
bed.
best attributes: loyalty, honor,
Yes.
you know, the
Absolutely.
responsibility, all those, and his relationship with his son,
Oh,
like,
beautiful.
just beautiful.
Sweet.
In a way, if you wanted to say, you know, show a young boy what a good man is, a good representation of a man.
Yeah.
That's who I would
There.
definitely show a young lad is like.
Yeah.
This is someone you can aspire to,
Totally.
Yeah.
for sure.
And one of the missed moments for us was Aaron Eisenberg's Nog in the Mirror Universe when he kept
Yes.
getting all the different girls and
Oh.
meeting.
Yeah.
And they kept meeting. He was like a little player. I was like, oh, look at
Yeah.
Nog. All right,
Oh,
Nog.
Yeah. It's like I said, this show's impossible to cover everything because
Right.
Yeah.
There's just so much.
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much.
So
Well,
in the
I think
90s,
the difference with Deep Space Nine is that they're a space station. They get they get to
People coming in.
experience much
Yeah.
more than just the standard crew
Yeah.
in a spaceship.
Right. So go
in the
ahead.
90s, though, we had 3 movies. We
Mhm.
briefly already mentioned Generations.
Yep.
When we talk about sex, we've got to talk about Star Trek First Contact.
Yeah.
Because-
Oh, Data.
Oh yeah.
No.
Oh,
Well,
the
yes.
Borg Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Borg
Borg Queen and Data.
And Data, yeah.
Data, absolutely. So you're right in that sense. That relationship, the fact the Borg Queen, and that's what made her more disturbing.
Yeah, I know, right?
So sexually outward and confident. You know, it was a scary thing.
Okay, so it's not just me. She was sexy.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, and
100%.
she
time.
was
And
totally
she
hot.
was-
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. And she was like sexually aggressive after dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That scene when she skin grafts him and
Yes.
she
Right.
blows on it.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
can't
man.
tell me that isn't erotically charged.
Oh,
That is
absolutely. Absolutely.
very
He
Yeah.
basically
full
has an
on.
orgasm on screen.
Right.
Yeah, basically.
He was more
So,
than
yeah,
just a
as
toy
we-
that day.
That's right.
So it's just as much as you think, well, there's not much sex going on in First Contact. No, that's quite steamy in parts.
Yeah.
The next one being that it's, and I don't have the picture here. I don't know where I put the picture. Bummer. There was really one scene that's sexy in Insurrection, and that's the bath scene, which I don't have the picture of. I do
Oh,
apologize.
yes.
Yes.
What do we think about the Troy Riker shaving the beard off scene? Oh my God, yes, the
It was
queen.
very
The Queen, yeah.
It was very
Yeah,
intimate.
absolutely.
That was very intimate because you're
dominatrix.
putting a blade on someone's face. You have
Yeah.
got to trust them.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
an intimacy
It's very
that you can
intimate.
only share with someone that there's that trust
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that confidence in. I think that was the moment when you knew their relationship was going to go somewhere. Finally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, by the end of that scene, you go, nah, they're just a
Mhm.
couple for life, basically.
Yeah.
And as we've kind of been confirmed. Yeah, but not many else is sexy going on in that movie. Maybe the attempt of the lead actress here to be Picard's kind of love interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got to say, that is the planet of the most boring people ever.
I know.
Right?
That was to me.
They're just
I always
they dress boring. They
Yeah.
act boring. They're just boring people.
Yeah, they all play hacky sack forever.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's like, there's more to
Oh,
life.
Joe, I'm
there.
going to ask you. This is another guy, and
Sure.
So funny.
maybe not sexy, but Deanna Troy when she's drunk,
Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Maybe not
So
sexy in
funny.
a sense, but it was nice to see her lose her inhibitions.
Yeah.
Right.
But
And
it
try
also
to-
showed you how different the two worlds were from the one they came from and the one
Yeah.
she was in. The
Yeah.
world she was in, a woman would know better than to get drunk
Right.
without an escort because
Yeah.
that could cause a lot of trouble. They were chaos. They were in chaos, right?
Yeah.
And the first thing
Exactly.
that happens when people are in chaos is that people start to get very abusive toward women and
Yeah.
take advantage.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
she comes from a place where those things don't happen.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
he just drank with the stranger, and
yeah.
you
But
know,
it was handled really well. And
Yeah.
the reason I mentioned that too, because when you're talking about the bath scene insurrection, that connection is not just it's set in concrete in the insurrection, but
Yeah.
we're pretty aware of it from that scene because Riker
Yeah.
is so delighted in her being drunk, and he's
He just
oozing
thinks it's so funny.
love for her at that point,
Yeah.
isn't he? He's just thinking she's the best. I'm
He's
gonna
like, you
take
know
her
what?
home and
All
get her
that
to bed.
space tail I got throughout the
Yeah,
decade
yeah.
out the window.
That's it.
Right.
but that shows you the maturity of their love, right?
Right.
Because if she was just any person, think about it. If you just like were at a club and some weird person next to you did that, you'd be like, "Oh, it's time to move seats."
Yeah.
That's
I'm out of
just
here.
not
I'm not going
happening.
to
I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Call this guy an Uber, right? I
Uh-huh.
wouldn't stick around. I would be afraid as a woman, right? But because he cared about her, he loved her, he didn't feel that this woman, there was anything wrong with her. She was just
No.
drunk, and I'm going to care for her.
Yeah.
That was very sweet.
Yeah.
It's a good
All right,
point
that
brought
is-
up by Drama Dork. There's also a cute deleted scene with Troy and Riker being flirty.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that one. That's really
Yeah, I
good. as
saw that
well.
one. That was a good one. Yeah, that's why I had to put it.
So
up
that's
there.
the 90s, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but probably the end of the peak of that era is the 90s.
Yes.
Really? In saying
Yeah.
that? We're going to now move into the 2000s.
How long has it been
I beg your pardon.
since you've mated?
Oh, poor T'Pol.
Oh,
Can I
T'Pol
just
was.
say that's the horniest spaceship ever?
Oh
Yeah, and she
That
is the
Peacock
horniest
chamber has
Vulcan,
seen-
Vulcan,
ever.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
She was getting more than anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody
So,
else.
you know,
Yeah. I
Let's
think
have a look at this crew of the Enterprise. You know, and there's
That's a good
pretty
looking
damn
bunch.
sexy bunch.
Yeah.
very.
It
Absolutely.
really is. I mean, obviously, T'Pol was being the, you know, the standout
she was a
7 of 9 replacement
Yeah.
in some ways. But
Right.
Bacula, what do you think, ladies? Bacula is a
Oh,
bit of
yeah.
a what?
Yummy.
Absolutely.
It's Trip, isn't it? Is it Trip? Is it
Trip
really
has
this
that
guy
as
has been?
boy next door, good
Yeah.
little, cute little boy kind of vibe, you know, like
Yeah.
little Southern gentleman, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
They definitely had their shirts off in this one a bit too. You know,
Oh, that's
there's
right,
a few
yeah.
times we got to see the boys with their shirts off.
But Star Bacula's in phenomenal shape. Look at all those
Yeah,
cuts.
look at that.
He
I
still
know.
looks good. He still
Yeah.
looks
I know.
He looks great.
I actually started watching NCIS New Orleans because he was in it. He
Oh.
looked good.
And he's grayed out now, or is he still got?
He's gray. He's
Yeah,
gray
he's gray,
hair.
yeah.
I mean, but he looks fantastic. He
You
does.
know who Mike? Believe it or not, T'Pol would be most guys like, oh my god, I'm drooling over her. But in
She's
this
beautiful.
in this show as well, I
Oh yeah, she was
really
so
attracted to her.
stunning.
She was an underrated beauty. She's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
She's gorgeous, very
She's
classically
very
beautiful.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And she didn't need a skin tight outfit for you
No.
to notice
Nope.
how gorgeous she was.
She was sexy because she had her shit together.
Yes.
That's what made her sexy.
Yes. And the helmsman, can we
Yeah.
just like, woo, for the helmsman? I mean, make me want to break some kind of laws. Talk about cougar, right?
Yeah,
Lord
yeah.
have mercy.
But you know, really, this show is just when I look back at Enterprise and I think of the sex part of it, it really is the Poland Trip show, isn't it? When you get
Yeah.
into
Yes.
the steamy stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, we get some real steamy scenes.
Yep.
That's what I said. Like, she was down to clown at any point, at any time. No pond fire waiting for her.
Yeah.
In
No.
fact, when she got into pond fire, she just got
Open
really mean.
massage.
Yeah, massage. That's it.
Acupuncture, whatever.
Yes, the
pressure
Vulcan
points.
pressure point thing.
Yeah.
Like I always wondered. Okay, I can understand it's a Vulcan
Yeah.
acupuncture. It's very
Yeah.
intimate. You're touching places, but you don't need to be naked. You can wear a t-shirt, girl.
Right.
Why
Yeah.
you naked?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
this
good for
guy is in
ratings.
space
Yeah.
and can't,
Right.
you know. And
Yeah.
he's only
Business is about to
drooling.
pick up. Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
those ratings went skyrocketing during that
Oh,
time.
Yeah.
For sure.
yeah.
now, what about representation in Enterprise? To me, I don't have a great memory of some of the big representation they didn't have that series. Is there anything that stands out to you guys in that regards?
The Doctor having 3 wives.
Yeah.
Yes, he was
Polygamy.
Here we
polyamorous.
go.
Yeah.
His wives
Yeah.
had 3 husbands. Each
Right,
of
there
them.
you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was
That's a
like
great
this
point
big,
to bring
happy
up.
family
Yeah.
of lovemaking.
Yeah.
So you're
You
talking
know?
about polyamorous then?
Yeah,
So
they were polyamorous.
they were polyamorous. So
Mhm.
and they made it work as a society.
Yeah. It was
So it's-
expected that if you were in a
It was just open.
proper marriage, you would
Yeah.
have these additional
Yeah.
spouses.
And now, is that where the term sister wives comes from?
No, no.
I
heard-
want to see that
I heard
show.
Navia say it,
The
and I was like,
doctor-
"What is that?"
The Dr. Follock's sister wives. That's what they did to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
reality
yeah.
show on that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. That's-
No.
absolutely. Yeah, okay, that's an interesting point. That hadn't really, but for me, it felt very vanilla, vanilla kind of plain bread as a series in regards to tackling sexual issues of the period. But as we know, Star Trek is always a reflection of its own time period that it's in. So maybe the early 2000s, that's where it was,
But we also
we
remember
want-
when the Doctor's wife comes aboard and comes on to Trip
To Trip.
real strong.
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's
yeah.
like, "Oh, did she offer to give you a
Yeah.
a rose petal bath?" And he looked at him like, "What?"
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And I think it really did explore the polyamorous side of sexuality and relationships, which had never really been done that openly and that clearly in Star Trek. I think
Well-
that was something pretty big.
Yeah, and I suppose the
think it-
relationship between the crew was, as we know, with Trip and T'Pol, like very sexually focused. They
Yeah.
weren't shying away from what it would be like to have a sexual relationship inside a pretty small enterprise.
Yeah.
I think version. Absolutely.
I think Enterprise did a good job too of pointing out. I mean, if you look at Phlox's reaction to his wife coming on to Trip and Trip's reaction to Phlox's wife coming on to Trip, right? Like it points out in like a very passive way how inhibited the people of Earth were at that time.
Yeah, conservative.
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna sleep with her? Like what's wrong with you? Kind of a
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
Like Phlox is like, she's beautiful. Why wouldn't you do that? You know? Like,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
a
you're
public
insulting me by
offender.
not. Yeah.
But
Right.
like, you know, and Trip's like, oh my god, like I would like that's your wife, like I would never. And it's like, what's wrong? Why not? You know? So
Yeah.
like it kind of points out like,
I'll
wow,
give you a
he's, like,
hand.
uptight, you know?
Now,
Yeah.
now we're going for a very transformative period for Star Trek at this point, right?
Yeah.
So it's early 2000s, mid 2000s. The only thing that's happening in the early 2000s besides Enterprise is the critically acclaimed, much maligned in some ways, but not everyone's favorite. I'm talking about Nemesis, Star Trek Nemesis, the
Which
final,
I happen to like.
which you happen to like.
Yeah,
Now,
I
when
hated
it comes to
Insurrection, love
sexy-
Nemesis. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, the crew at this point, they're still
They're
Look
looking
at
older.
them.
like I would still definitely. Oh, Crush, you still look amazing.
Oh
Yeah.
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 And they took Jordy's visor off, which you
That's
were
right.
able
Yes.
to see how handsome he is.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
He was hot with a
absolutely.
visor and he's hot without it.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I don't know how other people feel, but Tom Hardy is all over that movie. and
Yeah, that's,
That's
right.
right.
He's a skinny
That's
Tom
right.
Hardy, but he's a good-looking lad, right?
Yeah, because he's
Very
supposed to
good
be like
looking.
Picard.
Yeah.
He's got
So
the
he was
chin clef and
he
everything.
was
That's right.
in some ways, I think they would have made that character, and I think Tom Hardy was playing more progressive, maybe more of a, non-binary character, because I felt there was this simmering sexuality under that character that was
Yeah.
subtly playing out. And I thought that's kind of interesting what he was trying to do there. It doesn't look like Kirk much. Sorry,
It's Picard.
It doesn't look like Kirk at all. He's supposed to look like Picard.
Well, there's
but-
similarities. I mean, the
the
bald
similarities,
head
but
and-
Picard, look, what is he? Late
Yeah.
60s by then?
Yeah, he's in his 60s.
Patrick
at the-
Stewart.
Yeah.
He's still looking fantastic.
Yeah, he was.
Absolutely.
He didn't age until recently in his 80s.
No.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he just
And he
kept.
still looks
He
good.
still
I
looks
mean,
great. Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
got a
Yeah.
40-something-year-old
Yeah.
wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Homeboy got
What's-
game.
What's
That's
happening in
right.
the chat, Joe? What are people saying?
All right. So
They're probably
there-
saying, when are you going to finish this bloody thing?
No.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna need a
Yes. Very
decontamination
much so.
chamber after this. Yes. Philip also says there was an episode where they're in their underwear on Enterprise.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that
when they're
episode
rubbing the
was-
lotion on.
Right.
days, 2 nights,
2
that's
days,
it.
2 nights. Yeah.
Yep.
2 days, 2 nights. Yeah.
And Aaron Sugar says there's another scene where Hoshi loses her top while crawling
Yes.
through the ship.
Yes.
Remember
Yeah,
that
that
one.
was, I don't remember that one, but
Yeah.
I'll do some research.
That's right.
Definitely do some research.
Yeah. Again, I cannot deal with Troy getting assaulted yet again. That's
No.
what the
Yeah,
Nemesis-
and that's the thing about Nemesis that is just so. There's a lot of problems
Yeah.
with that movie, but that scene is
Yeah.
it's so unnecessary. It doesn't even really drive the plot forward
Nope.
Yeah.
in any way.
The wedding scene is kind of the only thing I liked about Nemesis.
Yeah,
Wow. I will die on a hill for the end scene of Nemesis, the data sacrifice, and of course, Tom Hardy getting stabbed through the chest and still pulling himself closer just so he could choke Picard. I
yeah.
thought that was for a
was
villain. I
pretty
thought
good.
that was incredible.
And I love the trap at the beginning with the Romulans.
Yeah.
Yeah,
thing
that was
opens
a
up.
cool thing, and it killed
Absolutely.
everybody.
Yeah, that was
Failed
Yeah.
on radiation. Yes.
But yeah, that's about it.
And
And I
that
tell you
Romulan
what-
woman, she was sexy.
She was
Yeah,
sexy.
she was. Yeah.
She was
Yeah.
sexy. They made her sexy perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they
We consider
as
this to
much
be
as
an
they tried to
internal
make it-
incident.
Yeah, as much as they've tried to make sexy Star Trek at this point, it's a bad place because by the end of Enterprise, it's the end of the Bergman era. We're done. We're moving on. Nemesis was a flop. They couldn't get they cancelled
Cancelled
Enterprise
Enterprise, yeah.
prematurely, just as it was getting good. So we're in a dark place. We got no Star Trek for about 4 years now. All right, in the 2000s, it's nothing happening until, of course, the reboot,
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
J.J. Abrams reboot of Star Trek, which is huge. What can we say? It was one of the biggest, reboot series idea, and I loved. This is obviously a picture from beyond, but I loved the reboot a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same.
And
you
the
talk about-
cast, talk about yelling.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah. When you're
everyone on
talking
that
sexy,
everyone
and
on
I
that
don't know
bridge,
if we'll-
man.
yeah, I don't know why I
Every
don't
one
have
of
my
them.
picture of Uhura up here. The recasting of Uhura.
Zol Zandana was.
Yeah, she's absolutely
Yeah.
good. You can see her in that image. I'll just have to use this.
Yeah, she's there. She's
She was
there.
wonderful
She's
for
so
it.
beautiful.
Yeah. Even the
Christopher
alien. and-
Pine playing Kurt really
great.
brought the back, didn't he?
Yeah. He
Even
did. He
the
was
know?
perfect.
alien lady was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, from Beyond, yeah, we'll
Right.
get into her in a minute. Yeah,
And this
She was-
Sulu, wow.
Yeah.
yes,
And this
Oh,
Sulu
yes.
was gay, I believe, right?
He was.
They-
uh-huh.
Yeah,
they
yeah, I
made
thought
him
so.
gay.
Yeah,
They made
which
him
they
gay, which is great.
Affirm in the
Yeah.
second one, which when we get into the 2010s, they affirm by having that scene where
He's
they
got
get
a
off
husband.
the ship and then he meets his
Yeah.
His
partner and
partner,
the
and
child.
And they have
yeah.
a daughter, don't they?
Yeah,
Right.
Daughter.
they do.
That's it. That's it. So
Yeah.
you kind of brought that. 2009 was extremely sexy. We got the green lady. For some reason, I can't seem to find the pictures on here. They've gone. But we get the green lady sexy. We get absolutely
Yeah.
Kirk as a
Uhura's
womanizer in this
roommate.
film.
Yeah.
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 And the big change they did in the reboot that we have to talk about is Spock and Uhura.
That's right.
Yes.
It's
That's
a big
sexy right
thing they
there.
introduced, isn't it?
Yeah. Big time.
Like, and yeah, I really dug that. I thought that was fantastic because
Mhm.
it took away from what the obvious thing that they might have done is to have Kirk and Uhura
Yeah.
hook up, and I really did never want that. I never ever kind of want that. I think their brother sister relationship
Yeah.
serves the series so much better. But I was totally cool with Spock and Uhura having a relationship. I thought it made for great drama.
I thought it was
Mhm.
beautiful. Yeah.
So that whole movie was sexy for just being the movie. I thought it was such a
Yeah.
great adventure, fun way to bring excitement back to Star Trek. Now,
Yeah.
for me, it's not the best Star Trek because I'm a bit of an old traditionalist. I love the TNG, Deep Space Nine, and all that. But it was sexy because it made Star Trek big again across the planet.
Totally.
Everybody was aware what Star Trek was.
Right.
And in a time where it looked like we may never have gotten another series, it was really important to have a hit then. So absolutely brilliant. And that's moving us on to really the modern era of Star Trek we're going to get into. That's a beautiful scene in that.
I love
Yeah.
that.
Really emotional moment. in that.
Absolutely.
Right.
Very
He doesn't
good.
know if he's going to get out of that one this time because he's really, I think he's
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
affected. Yeah, by
It was
the,
almost like he was saying goodbye,
Right.
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It
Just
was a
in
goodbye
case.
kiss.
just
Yeah.
in case.
Either way, we
Mhm.
start off the decade with the sequel to Star Trek, which is 2013 Star Trek Into Darkness.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Probably most people's the one they didn't like as much as the first one.
I liked Peter Weller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's about it. No,
Who do you
what
think is going to
about
save the
Khan?
universe? You?
I mean, the guys are looking, yeah, the
Yeah.
guys are looking great again. Like
Yeah.
all the, I mean, and when we talk about, we forget about talking about Carl Urban playing McCoy.
Oh, he's so
Mhm.
sexy.
Like,
Oh
yeah, right?
I just
like,
want to get a chest
absolutely.
cold and go to sick bay.
Yeah, yeah, go to McCoy. Yeah. Can I just say, I've never laughed harder where they explained his nickname in the first movie.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Oh, she let me whip my
everything.
bones.
It
Oh,
is
that's
my
right.
bones.
And then he takes a drink.
Hilarious. But yeah, what about Khan? Do we consider Benedict Cumberbatch
Absolutely.
in that movie?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that was emphatic.
That was emphatic. We got our arms to then.
You know,
Yeah.
they had a
Yeah.
big shoe to fill because the original Khan, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
that's right.
needed
we
to
saw
wow
earlier,
us
yeah.
again.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah.
pick just anyone. It
Mhm.
needed to have that sexy wow factor that brought in the women to drool
Mm.
and
Yeah.
men
Yeah.
to drool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who didn't want this bad boy?
Yeah.
He played it really threatening. I do
Yeah.
He
think
did,
his betrayal was
Yeah.
there.
He
I
did
do
a
think
good
of a lot of
job.
us are so fixated on the old Khan, it was hard to. And it felt like, really, why are we redoing Star Trek 2? Why would
Yeah.
you just go in
Was
a
it
new
Star Trek
story?
2 or was it Space Seed remade with Star
Bit of
Trek 2?
column A, column B. Column
Yeah, a
A.
little. It was like an
Both, yeah.
amalgamation of both.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But us straight guys got our sexy as well in that.
Oh, that's
movie.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
The
right.
classic
And that was
pose.
big controversy at that time.
There was.
It was. It
Yeah.
was starting to get into the area of like, why are we over sexualizing this? And I think,
Yeah.
in defense of J.J. Abrams and that, is because no, we're going to make Star Trek sexy occasionally.
Yeah.
So we're going to have things like this. You
Yeah.
know?
And it really brings in viewers that maybe never really gave Star Trek a chance. They see this beautiful woman in
Yeah.
beautiful black underwear.
Mhm.
Well, they're gonna go and watch her, you know, and you can
And-
see the hesitation that Kirk had. Do I
Yeah.
look? Do I not? She said not
Yeah.
to look, you
Of
know.
course Kirk would look.
Oh, yeah,
Of course
yeah.
he's got to look.
Yeah.
And you know what? They could have handled that far more tawdry. You know,
Yeah.
In back 20 years prior, he would have turned around, embraced her, and there would have been a cutaway to the window while they did that.
Exactly.
But they didn't do it with this. They still
Mhm.
made it
Oh.
sexy, but they kept it classy. So,
Yes. Yes.
Now,
He
Star Trek
ultimately
Beyond was-
stepped back and was
Yeah.
like, "All right, get dressed."
Star Trek Beyond, 2016, Star Trek Beyond. And we saw the image here.
Yep.
Even, you know, who's sexy in that movie, but we don't really see him sexy, only in a scene on the screen, is
Idris Elba.
my man,
Yes.
Idris Elba.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
who I know all the ladies love. I mean, my wife is like, yeah, that's on. If there's a list, celebrity list, she writes that in bold, in underline, Idris Elba. So yeah,
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
the love of my life.
Yeah,
And I
Idris
say
Elba.
that.
Good looking.
Yeah,
I'm
he-
Yeah.
waiting for the moment he realizes that I am
Yeah.
the one and he
Oh.
marries me.
there you go. Ironically,
Hopefully
Space
he will
Mom
click
told me.
sooner or later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Space Mom told me that Idris Elba replaced Denzel on her #1 list.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Denzel was #1 for me for many years.
Yeah.
No one could touch Denzel, but then Idris Elba came. Oh, wow.
Oh
Yeah.
my. Yeah.
And you
my
never
God.
know. They're all in the same place, the same times. Consenting adults, wacky things can happen.
Yeah.
Right.
The other, you talked about sexy before, Nita, the alien girl. Yeah,
Yes.
I thought.
Yeah.
I think
she
her name's
was-
Sophia Bolello or something like that.
Correct,
She's
yeah.
been in the Kingsman and things like that. I love this design. It's very sexy
Yeah.
design. The
Yeah.
black lines with the pure white in her eyes and all that. So yeah, even a strange alien, they were able to come up with the design that still made them look quite feminine and powerful and that.
And
So-
I like the fact that she had this I don't care kind of attitude.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. She's
You
slightly
know?
weird about the whole situation, there's no
Yeah.
doubt about it. Which makes it fun. Like, to me, that's my favorite Star Trek film
Oh yeah.
new trilogy.
Yeah.
Because it felt so much like a Star Trek episode in a
Yeah.
really good way. And it was original. It wasn't a rehash of Star Trek, you know, of
Mhm.
Star Trek 2 like they did with the
It
other
was
one.
fresh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the movies. That's the last movie we've got now.
Yep.
I suspect, people, it's the last movie we're going to get for a long time.
Yeah.
I agree.
I do think Star
Unfortunately.
Trek's going to live in now the modern era in streaming, and I'm
Yeah.
down for it. I'm good with it. But the big change in Star Trek has been this new version
Mhm.
of this new era of Star Trek. They've taken the diversity and representation and they've shot it up to 11, rightfully so.
Yeah.
And it
Excellent.
makes the show great. Not only are we having great quality television, but people being fairly represented. And Discovery led the way
Yeah.
Right.
very much in the way of representation.
Except for
which
the
is
new
wonderful, 'cause
Klingon
even
look.
in that- Sorry?
Except for that new Klingon look. She got. I don't know why they
They
went with
stuffed that up. Yeah, we don't
Yeah.
talk about that. We don't talk about
We do not
that
talk
design.
about it.
Klingons without hair, except for the general from Star Trek 6. That's the only Klingon
Yeah.
that have no
That's
hair.
right,
All
yeah.
that
That's
have
right.
their main. But yeah, sexy starts at the top with Discovery, I thought, and
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She's
What a
absolutely
beautiful
gorgeous.
woman.
You know?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what's great about her is like she's not and ever in a compromisable outfit.
Yeah.
She's
Mm.
always
In
suited up
uniform.
in
Mhm.
uniform or in her civilian clothes, relaxed
Mhm.
clothes. She's
Yeah.
never
Mhm.
like puffy, never
Exactly.
compromised or over sexualized. She's always badass
Yeah.
and
But
Yeah.
yes,
protruding
she is
her
so
sexual,
sexy.
and she's gorgeous.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And then even these
Yeah, that was cool.
Tilly.
Yes.
Tilly was like when she was the
Tilly.
Mirror Universe Tilly, I'm like, okay, I think I like that.
Yeah,
And you
yeah.
know what? Tilly comes and she represents us plus size girls.
Yes.
She's
Yeah,
beautiful.
she may
She's
not be
gorgeous.
plus size to many
Yeah.
people in the everyday life, but in Hollywood, she is considered plus size. So she does represent us,
Mm.
and she does it with flair and
Yeah.
beauty, and she's
Yeah,
excellent.
she's kick
And she's
ass.
sexy.
Yeah.
She is sexy,
Yeah,
especially
damn
in Mirror
straight.
Image.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But really, there's a couple of relationships in the show
Mhm.
when it comes to sexually breakout that finally we're getting this kind of
Yeah.
deal with, and one of it is this wonderful relationship
Yes.
they represented in the
Paul
show,
and
and
Hugh.
yeah, it's absolutely
I
gorgeous, and
love
you
them.
feel
They're
the love
adorable.
between them. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and they are the heart of the show very much so.
Absolutely.
I think,
Yeah.
that relationship is kind of a gauge to how the rest of the ship is going at some
Yeah.
points. I
Yes.
feel. But obviously the big relationship to is this one here, which
Yes.
is
Yeah.
the non-binary representation, and that relationship itself is so special and unique and honest. I thought was wonderfully handled, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a great quote by the actor themselves I want to put up on the screen. Infinite diversity in infinite combination mean that anyone of any gender and any orientation can feel represented, understood, and accepted in Alexander Firm. So
Love that.
isn't that a great quote?
That's
That's
it. That's
beautiful.
it. Yep.
That's an
Totally.
Yeah.
excellent quote. But
Absolutely.
that
So,
is Star Trek.
That is Star
That
Trek art, right?
encompasses Star Trek.
Yep.
yeah, absolutely. Now, so Discovery's done a great job with that. And another big live action show, the most current one that we got last year, was Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And
Yes.
again, when we're talking about amping up the sexy,
Mhm.
every character in that
Yeah, that's
image
true. Yeah.
is
Everyone
looking
on that bridge
delicious.
is
Yeah.
smoking hot.
They
Yeah.
picked the most smoking hot Uhura.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my
And the
Yeah.
doctor,
And Benga.
Yes, and
Nbenga?
Benga.
And
Yeah.
Benga, yes.
ooh,
No, they're
Everyone
definitely
on
good.
that ship.
And
Oh,
then
Pike,
Johnny
I mean,
Bravo. I mean,
That's
Christopher
right.
Pike.
But it's the hair, man. The ladies are
Pike's-
loving, and the
Yes.
dudes are loving the hair, man.
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
Even
Yeah.
I go, that's some
so
wicked hair.
genuine though.
Yeah, very
I mean,
genuine.
he's such a nice, person as in his character as
Yeah.
Pike.
Yeah,
He had so little to really go by because
Yeah.
we didn't really get much of
we got the
Pike in
cage.
the original
Right.
story. We
Yeah.
got the case. That's it.
Yeah.
And he was able to bring it and really play a character that fits that exact timeline.
Yeah.
You know, and he does it with style, and I don't care what anybody says about that hair. He looked good in that hair.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he is sexy.
As a bald man, I'm very envious. But the real strong sexual relationship in Star Strange New Worlds is that's
Oh,
Pike.
yeah.
Bring in Spock. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh wow!
Bring
And
it.
I gotta say, she is so beautiful. She's
She
hard to
is.
look at.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
she's breathtaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievably
She is
good
so
looking that
stunning.
woman is.
Yeah.
I mean, just
She is beautiful to the point where you don't want to be her friend because you don't want to be next to her,
Right.
and not
yeah.
you don't want to be the ugly friend next to her at the club. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
When you talk about passion and things like that, their interplay, their
Oh, it's
conversations,
great.
so charged, isn't it? And they'll be saying
Yeah.
something very non-sexual, but it's the energy that's coming
Yeah.
off the screen about how it's absolutely amazing, you know.
And that
Wonderful.
T'Pring is Portia Hassan, right?
Gia Sandu.
Oh, Gia Sandu. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. But when we talk about diversity and representation, Strange New Worlds did something that has been long overdue. Now, I've got a little bit of an issue with it, and I'll tell you why. But certainly, when I'm talking about representation, bringing a trans character in, who the performer, and I've forgotten their name, I do apologize,
Jesse
did an excellent job in the role. My only issue is I've seen 2 bit of media recently where they've had trans characters and they're both being played evil. I want now Star Trek's next step is we need to have a trans character who's in a healthy relationship being.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we need. That's the next evolution to it. I mean, I'm thrilled that we got that trans actor to do the role because she was so they were so good in that role.
Right.
That and I love when I had that picture of her and them and Spock. Like there was a lot of sexual tension between them too, wasn't there? Maybe not from Spock's perspective, but certainly from the villain's perspective.
Because she's kind of with his brother, so it's like there's a familiarity of
that's true.
Cybok in Spock, and she's kind of like
because that's right at the end.
Kind of digging this pointed ear guy here.
And then
and we went in the future.
And then just to end off the show, because we're getting close to the end here, guys. Believe it or not, we will have lives that we've got to go live.
Yeah.
Here's Lower Decks.
Yes.
Because we're not going to talk about Prodigy because that's a kid's show and there's no real sexuality going on there. For good reason.
Although, no kidding.
No, don't even care. The Lower Decks, they don't care. And particularly the most controversial orgy episode where they're just showing things going nuts in that.
Yeah.
People remember that episode. But you know what's great? Look, we've got a couple of guys there making out. We've got a guy and a girl making out. We've got a couple of girls making out. This is probably the most disturbing picture of all time. But certainly a great shot from the episode.
You know what I've just noticed? The engineer is looking at Boimler like, oh, wait a minute.
Exactly.
I never noticed that before.
And you know what's fascinating about Lower Decks is the creator, Mike McMahon, isn't it? Mike McMahon, I think. He is hyper aware of the sexuality in Star Trek, and he purposely infuses a lot of that throughout it as a callback, as to a nod to some of the classic episodes. So, it's been inferred in many episodes, even in TNG, that orgies have happened.
Yeah,
they've just shown it.
Right.
So, which is kind of wonderful. So, even Star Trek and its animation people, they are talking about sex, and I think it's a great way to wrap up what has been an hour and a half, well, nearly 2 hours, guys. Talking about sex and Star Trek, and we just slightly scratched the surface.
We had to go through 50 years of everything.
Absolutely. And before we go to the comments, Joe, I've just got to say, you and me, we're going to agree with this. And this is just to sum it up. The sexiest thing about Star Trek, it's
the ships.
Oh, yes.
If you want to get drooling, if you want to get turned on, just look at that.
Look at those ships.
Bird of prey. It's just
That's
makes
it.
my heart
Like
flow.
Kirk staring at the Enterprise, I'm with him there too. Lusting over that Enterprise.
Lusting.
So let's go to the comments. Let's tie it up, Joe. What do we got?
All right. The romance between Stamets and Culber is amazing.
Yeah.
It's so sweet.
Yeah, it's a very sweet relationship. The search for Khan meets the wrath of Spock. Yeah, that's a good one, Aaron Sugar. And plagued by the real relationship issues.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was that?
That's
Stamets and
and Culber.
And
of course,
Khan!
Yeah.
Sexy Khan!
And Sarah Andrews, Lala Horace, roommate in Kirk.
Roommate in Kirk, yeah.
Aaron Sugar's Pines Kirk was almost a caricature of William Shatner's.
Yeah,
and
but
Sarah
so
Andrews
was the movie. So
Yes.
he
Yeah.
suited that thing.
Totally.
The idea was to make a amped up, hyper realistic, version, and that's why he is.
Yeah, but he kind of laughed at himself too, which made
He
him
did.
the much better than Shatner, in my opinion.
And
of course,
Chris did an amazing job.
Jayla.
Jayla,
Oh, yeah.
yes.
Now,
Love for Jayla.
Jayla was just such a great performance. Such great performance. I just want to see,
Her comeback, and she's a Starfleet, right? She's a she means Tilly. Tilly is my favorite.
Yeah, my favorite.
Yeah.
I also love that Michael and Tilly are allowed to have their natural / curly hair. Oh yeah, that's a
Yes.
great point.
Totally.
That is a
Why
great
would
point.
would that be an issue in the past for Star Trek? You weren't allowed to have
Because Uhura had a perm. She didn't have her
Yeah.
natural hair.
It's an issue with with how women of color are viewed with their
Oh.
natural hair. Um,
Ah,
like when you see her with her long braids and
Yeah.
she's
yeah,
a captain, there was a time where in the business world it was considered
yeah.
unprofessional and you couldn't wear them.
Right.
Oh,
And
right, okay.
curly hair was not considered neat. Oh, comb your
Yeah.
hair.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
messy.
Yeah,
No, it's
okay.
curly,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Okay.
really represented, those of us that are in that group. And
Yeah.
that I thought was fantastic.
Okay. Well, then you
Yeah.
who is represented with natural
Yes,
hair.
Right. She has
absolutely.
natural
Yes.
hair, which is
Yeah.
Yeah,
great.
in the
Yeah.
80s, you see her with the afro, which was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Anson is
Yeah.
so hot, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Dromedor
Absolutely.
Yeah.
agrees. Anson is very hot.
Yeah.
And our
Oh,
last
Anson,
comment
yes.
of the evening from
Yes.
Aaron Sugar. I don't trust her though. She seems like the type that'll leave a guy at the altar. And he's talking about the praying.
We're talking about Nita here, are we?
To praying, not me.
And that's it, guys. We have kind of come to the end of what has been a long show. And I said, I've absolutely loved doing it. I think
Loved
it's
it.
a
So
subject
fun.
that's not talked about enough with Star Trek. And, maybe if you guys were happy with this, if you'd like us to investigate more, maybe we can do some deep dives into certain time
Yeah.
periods when we're talking about sex and Star Trek.
And let us know
what you think.
by
Yeah.
commenting.
absolutely.
Not in the
Thank you.
live chat, but go back to the video and comment in the actual video. If we get more comments and we get more interaction with you guys, then we'll know what to do.
Yep.
Because
what
the
do you
live chat
want?
will disappear and then we'll go, what was it they said?
Yeah.
And this way we'll actually get it. And if you wouldn't mind, please, if you've enjoyed this episode, if you stood, the 5 of you that have stood around for the whole 2 hours, there was 13 and they kept going, and we appreciate every single one of you coming in. But please subscribe if you haven't already. We appreciate each and every one of you for doing so. And while you're doing that subscribing thing, why don't you just shoot us a like? It's free and it helps the channel
Really
grow,
helps us out.
and it
Yeah.
helps
Yeah.
us grow so much further because the YouTube algorithm has been fixed again. So a lot of big channels are seeing a dwindling of subscribers and viewership. And that's because of the interaction. We need you to give us a like, as it does so many wonders for us. And if you want to hang out with us afterwards, you can always hit us up on the old Twitter
Yep.
at Spectrum Sancto, because they won't have enough characters to give us the full Spectrum Sanctorum. So
Yeah.
please hit us up there on Twitter.
Great. Excellent. Well done. Thanks for that, Joe. Thank you, Admiral Annie and Captain Nita, for being the smart ones on the show. We needed some intelligence here, and you definitely brought the game with you. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It's been a hilariously fun show to do.
Yeah.
We will see all guys
Thanks, Sarah.
next time. And live long and prosper and go get yourself some.
Yeah.
We'll